Hi, this is Xavier.
Hello, I'm Javi.
And today we're going to go over what is success story, why you should do them, and how to do them. We're going to go over some questions that people may have asked us, and we're going to answer them. So let's start.
Yeah. So the first question is, what is a success story video and why should companies consider creating them?
A success story is explaining the journey of a company and putting them as the hero of this story through a narrative to explain what challenge they face, how they solve them thanks to your company. This is basically what is a success story. If you have a value proposition for your customers, it may be the best value proposition in the world, but you have to prove that you can do it, that you can achieve that value for your customer. So you need a way to ensure the customer that you can achieve this. One of the strongest ways is to actually show other customers achieving this. And that is the goal of a success story, to provide credibility to your value proposition.
How does a success story video differ from a case study or a testimonial video?
A case study normally is more of a technical analysis of what is the solution provided to a customer. The case study is focused on the product or the solution, and the success story is focused on your customer as the hero of the narrative. The testimonial is shorter from just the customer saying what they like about you. It's more focused on you. Why you should use the success story instead of a testimonial of case study, which are also good and you should be doing them, but the success story can connect in a deeper level. On the one hand, the success story can be way more engaging. You're telling a story, you're using the power of storytelling. And on the other hand, the success story on itself is providing a value to your customer. It's allowing them to tell what's their vision, what they're trying to achieve, what are their challenges, how they are providing value to their own customer. So it's good for your customer. You have way more chances for a customer to be willing to collaborate with you on this than just a testimonial or a case study. Yeah. So I would say these are the two keys for the success story.
It's a win-win.
Exactly, it's a win-win scenario.
Can you talk us through the typical structure of a success story video?
So we normally follow the hero's journey structure. So we're going to put your customer as the hero of the story. We start explaining where do they come from, what are they trying to achieve, and once we present this character, your customer, then we show the problem. So we go from who is the customer, what is their challenge, and now once they have explained their challenges, that's when you present your company and how you guided them in solving those problems. You are the guide to the hero. And that's what you can start talking about. What's the benefit? Where did you take them? And what's the end result? What's the happy ending of this story? This is following the same structure that most blockbuster movies are following. Star Wars, Toy Story. Most of the biggest stories that we tell use this story. There is a hero that has a dream but faces a problem, meets a guide that helps them, puts a plan into place to be successful and be happy forever.
What's the process of developing a success story video from concept to final edit?
The first step is planning. If you're working with a company that's going to help you to produce a success story, the first thing is to really understand your company, your value proposition. How do you help your customers? Because at the end result of the success story will be based on the questions that you ask your customer. Everything, all the narrative will be based on the interview of the success story. So you have to understand very well your company in order to be able to understand what questions you have to ask to get the answers for your story. So this will be about planning. For sure, the first step is to get your customers in. So you have to be able to make a good proposition to your customers, explain the value of the success story, to get them in, have an interview with them, understand what their answers are going to be. The second part is more about pre-production, shooting.
Yeah, you have to prepare for the shooting. You do a briefing, a location scout, the scheduling, and prepare the interview questions. When are you going to shoot the interviews? What type of shots do you need to illustrate that interviews? What type of gear do you need? What kind of lighting?
You said something very interesting. You need to get a list of the shots you're going to do. The narrative of the success story will be the interview. But if you just use an interview with someone telling stuff, this is going to be really boring. People like to work for the stuff, they want to understand. And something very important here is visual evidence. So not just tell them every step, but show them, let them understand it. So if you know what are the answers going to be looking like, you have to think for each answer, for each thing that they explain, you have to put B-roll or secondary shots that are showing what the customer will be answering.
For this type of video, you have two types of shots. You have the interview and you have the B-roll. For the interviews, you have to choose the right people to tell your story. So for the technical aspects, you may need an engineer, and to talk about the vision of the company, you may need the CEO or maybe a CTO, something like that. So everyone can talk about what they know. And then for the B-roll, you prepare the shots accordingly for what every one of them is going to say. If you have to talk about technical specifications, then you are going to need to shoot
specific parts of the product or the application running. Next step is post-production, editing. And the last one is to review and do the final edit together with the customer, okay, to polish the last points.
Next question. How do you identify and approach customers for featuring them in a success story video?
In order to shoot a success story, in order to get customers on board, one of the most important things is to find the happiest customers. And for sure, each customer will go through a curve of happiness. It's important to not delay this process because any customer, anytime, they will always go through higher moments of happiness and lowest moments of happiness. So as long as they have the product running, they are happy, make sure to invite them to do it. Don't let it go for too long. Even if they are happy at the end, they will start to forget why they're happy and they will start thinking about different stuff. So it's important to do it in the right time, as early as possible as you can, so that they have a fresh memory of why they chose you, why they are happy with you. The second thing that you have to take into account is that it's a value for your customer. Okay, a success story, it's about making them the hero of the story. It's a great opportunity for them to tell their story. You are the guide, but they are the hero. So you don't have to go begging for a success story. In fact, it's something really nice for them, you know? And you have to sell it in this way, because it's a win-win scenario. You don't have to be shy and be asking, hey, can you do us a favor? No, let's try to really show them the value of what you will be doing.
Can you describe what a typical shooting day for a success story video looks like? Oh, it's chaos. No, typically it's a very long day because you have to shoot a lot of things. More so is the company is a big one. They have a big warehouse and you have to shoot very different parts of the warehouse, and you have to shoot interviews in different parts of the office, of the warehouse. You have to move a lot of gear, walk a lot. So that's a lot of time. So you need the whole day for sure.
Normally it will take a whole day to take both the interviews and the B-roll. It can take more, between 1 to 2 days, but normally it will be 1 day. For the different kinds of shots, it involves quite a lot of setup. Okay, setting up an interview, it's not just going and recording someone, but there is lighting.
You could do that, but it won't look good.
Exactly. So it involves lighting, it involves audio, having good audio, especially in a factory or manufacturing environment.
Yes, you have to plan ahead, know when the timing of the interview, when are you going to shoot it, so there is less noise. In our case, the last one we did, we shot the interview in the warehouse when the workers were at lunch.
Yeah, that's important. Sometimes even you have to plan in advance if they have to turn off air conditioning because it can be noisy, or ask people
to turn off the machines.
Or machines, for example, so that you don't have a lot of noise in the space. But typically it will be 1 day shooting, and there will be some restrictions for the place that you're recording in order to have a good result.
If you plan ahead, you can do it in 1 day. It's going to be a long day, but you can do it in 1 day. Next question. How important are interviews in success story videos, and how do you conduct them to get the most valuable content?
The interview is going to be the backbone of your narrative. You have to understand this, who you are going to interview and what's their type of personality, and what are the skills. Why I'm saying this? I would say that it's generalizing, but there are two types of people. There is people that is very good at answering questions just by improvising. They know it very well, they're confident with it, and it will be super easy. If you try to prepare the answers too much, or you provide them a script, we are not actors. we don't know how
they
to
will
act.
froze, they don't know.
Exactly.
They will forget the lines.
When we get in front of the camera, everything, you get nervous. And if you are acting, you are double nervous. So that will not work for them. And it's better to just go ask questions, and the person that is interviewing should be managing the situation, asking the right questions to get the right answers. Yeah. But there is a second type of people that it's the opposite. Okay, they don't want to be improvising. They want to have something prepared. They want to be able to learn the answers by heart in order to be able to provide the best answer. And you have to be able to understand this before the shooting. Sometimes it's not possible, but you have to understand this in order to get the best out of these two type of people.
Because if you want them to speak freely, they will
get frozen, they will feel uncomfortable, and this is a problem for the interview. Yeah.
What are the key timelines to consider during the production and post-production stages of a success story video?
The timeline can depend on the complexity in the project. It's not the same success story that happens in your same city or your same country that one that is in the other side of the world, okay? They will imply different things. For the pre-production, you have to think probably 1 month ahead of time, just to have the proper meetings, to prepare the schedule, to make sure that they have everyone available for that time. So you should plan ahead 1 month in advance to
and everything
prepare
up and running.
Exactly. Yeah. To prepare everything, to book flights, to book hotels, everything you need for your recording team.
For production, we already talked about.
Probably in 2 days recording.
Between 1 and 2 days, yeah. Post-production depends on the answers that they give you. Because if you plan well and you ask the right questions, normally the answers are what you're looking for. But sometimes when the person who's speaking is getting nervous, don't really know what to say, they start to speak and to speak and to speak, and then you have to cut all of this to make your story yourself.
Okay. And that involves a lot more time.
So you need a lot more time to listen to the interviews, to cut it, to put it in the right order, to tell the story. But if the questions are done correctly, you already have the story.
Okay. And what's the average time frame, minimum to maximum, from the day of the shooting to getting the results? How much time?
But if you're fast, you could do it in 4 days. But it's always better to let it breathe a little bit.
Okay.
Because you can edit 20 hours straight and maybe you have it, but for the editing you need things to breathe, for your brain
to see it from a different perspective, see what can you improve, what can be better. Okay. So in total, we'll be talking probably about 1.5 months.
Yeah.
From preparation to having the final output.
Once the video is completed, how do you handle the delivery and distribution to ensure maximum reach and impact? No, this is important because you can make the best video, but if no one sees it, it doesn't work. How do we do it?
So depends on what channels are best for you, for sure. If we're into B2B tech space, a lot of companies, LinkedIn is working very well for them, YouTube can work very well for them. And one of the strongest channels that you can use is your own customer database. In B2B, the typical sales cycle can go from 6 months to 2 years. So the customers that you already know are the ones that have the biggest chances of buying from you again and providing faster revenue to you. So I would say the first channel that for sure we use is email distribution with our current customers, okay? This can be content that can help us activate those sleeping customers. The second channel, quick one, would be LinkedIn. Most companies, they use LinkedIn just to post links to articles they wrote to products. This is incredibly boring. Success story is interesting both for the company that you work with, for you, and for your potential customers. This is something of value that you can provide. And I can tell you that the results compared to the typical LinkedIn post with a success story are just, a 10x of what you would get with a typical post. Not just because it's interesting, but also because it involves different companies. The company that you have built success story with them, they will also be sharing these, and their employees and the companies that work with the company that you built the success story. So it's like a network effect that can reach quite far. The third part for sure will be paid media. You can use it on LinkedIn ad campaigns. They work really well because it's not you that is telling that your product works. It's another customer that is telling, This has a lot more credibility to your customers. And you can use also YouTube ads that will work very well for this. These are some of the distribution channels that you can use. You can also split the success story to make shorter videos for ads, for LinkedIn. Generally, these are the main channels that we use. So this is all for today. Thank you much for joining us and see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.